Look, objections aren't obstacles. They're opportunities that you haven't learned how to lead through. And I know that sounds corny, but it's true. Every time somebody says, I can't, or I'm not sure, now's not the time, it's disguised as a request for certainty. That's what it is. Every single objection is a disguise as a request for certainty. They're saying, I can't make this decision. I lack the certainty. It's not a dead end. If you keep treating objections like something you need to push back on, you will never master the real power of influence, because you'll either go into convincer mode or forcer mode, and that's not influence. See, objection handling begins the moment you open your mouth, not after they push back. If you think that you're going to handle the objection by, overcoming, their pushback, the reason why I want to talk to my wife, and if you think it's about the wife, or, now's not the time, and you really believe it's about the calendar, you are in the wrong game. I'm just telling you, completely wrong game, because it's about certainty. If you want to prevent most objections, you've got to make your value very clear. You've got to earn their trust, and you got to lead them from the very first exchange so they have absolute certainty. Sales is the transference of the emotion of certainty, and the only place that buyer can get certainty is from you. Think about it. The last time you spent $1,000 or more, you had to be absolutely certain that this was the right decision, and the person was right, and the solution was right, and the company was right. You had to have certainty in that. And until you had certainty, you didn't buy from them. And I would imagine that every single person that you didn't buy from, it had nothing to do with price. It was that you were uncertain about how the product will perform, if the company would stand behind it, or if you even liked the person who was selling it. See, most objections are the result of something that you missed early on as an opportunity to build that certainty. You'll never handle objections at a higher level than you see yourself, your own self-belief in yourself. If you doubt your value, you're going to get defensive the second it's challenged. But when you know that you're there to serve, and you believe in yourself as an authority, as an expert, objections feel like opening opportunities. They feel like, this is an opportunity for me to shine. This is an opportunity for me to now talk about myself. I didn't want to tell you all the great things about me, but now I can. They're not attacks. See, the state you bring into the room is the state that they mirror back to you. We think so many salespeople will study neuro-linguistic programming, the principle of mirroring, that we mirror back to the other person. Well, that's great. Did you ever think that maybe they're mirroring it back to you? That their uncertainty about moving forward isn't coming from them at all? That maybe they're mirroring you? If you show up feeling stressed or rushed or combative or doubtful, guess what? They get stressed and rushed and combative and doubtful. But if you show up relaxed, curious, and certain that you're the leading expert, that you're the authority here, they're going to lean in. See, when your words, when the tonality you use and your level of certainty all come into alignment, I'm going to tell you what, that's more persuasive, that's more influential than any script that you can memorize. When you can reframe the objection by comparing it to what they told you that they want most, instead of reacting to some no or not now, and you can bring them back to that gap between where they are and where they said they want to be, when that gap to them is very clear and that you can fill that gap, and they're certain that you can fill that gap, the objection almost dissolves on its own. See, early in my contracting days, I did a bid for a client. So I get the job, who immediately told me, hey, my price was too high as I bid the job. Now, I could have defended my number, but instead, I leaned into the conversation with curiosity. I asked them what they valued most about the project. Now, that question completely changed the conversation. I wasn't talking to them no longer about price. Like, what do you value most here? And they started talking about their timeline, the quality that they expected, their frustration with other contractors. And then suddenly, my price was no longer the focal point. It was the guarantee that they'd get everything that they cared about that made them sign at the original price. See, before you present anything, you need to know exactly how the decision gets made. That means who's involved, how they decide, what's the process. Like, what are the exact steps for approval? So many salespeople are afraid to have this conversation. They're afraid to ask these questions. These are more invasive questions, to be sure. And in our intelligence gathering phase of our program, of our system, we teach you to go from the least invasive to the most invasive. But if you skip this, you're going to hear, well, look, I need to run it by Jim. I need to run it by the manager. We want to run it by the board. Right after they've already spent all of your time and all of your energy. Talk about the budget before you ever put a number on the table. So many salespeople are afraid to have a budget conversation. They're afraid to have a money conversation. That's why the very first syllabus in our course is about you getting aligned with money and getting your own paradigms and beliefs about money out of the way. See, when you know their range, when you know their numbers and what they're willing to invest, you're not going to get blindsided by, oh, well, geez, we can't afford that. We only have $10,000 in the budget. If their range is too low, you reset. You reset before ever moving forward. Well, geez, Jim, a $10,000 budget is completely unreasonable. I know what you're expecting here, and I know the standards that you want for your team. How you're going to do that at $10,000 with me or any other company is beyond me. I can't do that for you. Here's what I can do. But I'm certainly not going to get blindsided. You want to tie your price to the value of solving their problem. Not to your hours. Well, geez, Jim, we can't do it for that much money. I've got 10 guys at 16 hours and they each make $32 in gas prices. And you've got to tie your price to value, not to your features and benefits, not to the deliverables. And you're going to get this and you're going to get that. See, when they can see the value, the real cost of doing nothing to them, what they're going to lose by not making the additional investment, that contrast all of a sudden makes your price look like it's a smart move. It's a smart move that they can make and should make. If you don't create urgency early on, price becomes the only thing that they see later. And I'm just telling you this, this, that when price is the only thing on the table, it's a race to the bottom. You got to get them to do what we call micro agreements all along the way. If they've already agreed to the need, the urgency, and the next step, I need to think about it, doesn't hold up anymore. That doesn't fly. Not at all. See, you've built agreement piece by piece, micro agreement by micro agreement, instead of trying to win it all in one shot with some, fancy close. See, when I started booking speaking engagement, I'd often get right to the end and hear, well, we just need to think about it, Paul. Well, you know what? We're looking at some other options. At first, I'd walk away frustrated. And then I started asking, can you help me understand what you're thinking through? See, one meeting, the organizer told me she was worried the audience wouldn't be ready for the level of challenge my talk might bring. Now, that had nothing to do with my price. It had nothing to do about the availability of the schedule. It was all about, was I going to be a fit? That's where her uncertainty was. Price was just a smokescreen for that uncertainty. And once I found out that that was her real concern, I was able to address it. And she booked me. Now, look, before we go any further, I want you to download a free guide that I created, Belief Upgrade. It's a belief upgrade guide, and I created it for you. This isn't just another script or list of objections. It's the mindset reset that upgrades your self-belief, your self-identity, so that you can lead every sales conversation with emotional congruence, this ability to have calm confidence, calm certainty. Inside, I'm going to walk you through 10 internal shifts that peak performers use to rise above fear, resistance, and old belief patterns. Because let's be honest, you don't lose the sale because of the objection. You lose it when your confidence shrinks in the face of the objection. Now look, if you're ready to stop second guessing yourself and to start closing from alignment, not adrenaline, grab the guide. The link's in the description right there, and then come right back. See, you want to always acknowledge first, just a very simple, genuine look. I appreciate what you're saying. I appreciate that. Say, Paul, I got to talk to my wife. Look, I get that. I appreciate that. Just by me saying that kind of drops their defenses. It shows respect. It tells them I'm not threatened by that. And it keeps rapport intact. And then I want to get curious instead of defensive. Help me understand. So I'll say, look, when I'm making decisions about this, I completely get it. I want to run it by my wife as well. Help me understand. Do you see, do you like the idea? Does the idea make sense to you? Help me understand. Your wife's not going to be angry at you for making the decision to get rid of the ants in the kitchen, is she? I mean, she's not going to be angry that you solved the chinch bug problems that making the grass green. I mean, the grass turn yellow, is she? Help me understand. See, it's one of the most powerful ways to keep a conversation open. See, you want to keep their words and their priorities front and center. You don't want to just oh, it doesn't matter. I want to repeat their phrase back before I respond because it proves to them that I heard them. If you're taking any notes, write this down. People can't hear until they know they've been heard. And once they've been heard, it lowers their resistance. It builds trust. It makes them more open to your solution. It gives them a level of certainty that at least what you're going to be talking about is their true feelings. When you can use one principle of influence called contrast, and you can put the objection next to the bigger picture, if they hesitate on price, compare it to the problem that it's already costing them. If they say they're too busy, compare it to the time they keep wasting without a solution. See, let me take you through some simple ways to respond to the most common objections. So if they say, look, your price is too high, you want to tie your price to the return they told you they wanted. If they said the problem's costing them $50,000 a month, then $15,000 to fix it is a bargain. You're not defending price. You're using their logic to close the gap. If they say, look, I need to think about it, you want to drill down. What exactly needs thinking through? If it's a stall, you're going to uncover it. If it's a real problem, you want to respect it, but you want to walk the next step in before you leave that room. You can't move forward. You can't pretend that objection and that level of uncertainty doesn't exist. If they say, look, I need to run this by the board. I need to run this by my manager. You should have known this way up front. But if you don't, offer to be in that conversation. To say, look, great, Jim, I've been doing this for a long time. Why don't you and I both meet with the board? This way, if they have any questions, you don't have to come back to me. I can be there to answer them right there. See, your value and your message won't get watered down when someone else tries to explain your value. If they say, look, well, we just can't afford it, or it's this kind of money, it's just not in the budget. Find out if it's really about the money or if it's about priority. I found this to be true in my life and everybody else's, is that people always find money for what they believe is critical, for what they believe is important. And your job is to connect your solution to what's at the top of their list. If they say, look, we're already working with someone, acknowledge their loyalty. I value that level of loyalty, Jim. I really do. And then go looking for the gap, because almost every vendor has a weak spot. Find it. And then position yourself as the obvious next step. If they say, I'm too busy, this usually means this isn't a priority. And if they admit it's not, then you at least know where you stand. If it's not a priority, great, it's not a priority. If they say it is, you've just earned the right to show them how now is the best time to move forward. Why waiting is the wrong decision. See, when I launched my mastermind group, I approached a prospect who told me that he was already in another program. I didn't try to compete head to head. I simply asked if there were one thing that would make your current program better, what would it be? Well, just out of curiosity, if there was one thing that could make the program you're in better, what would it be? And he thought for a moment and he said, well, they didn't really offer one-on-one access with the leader, right? With the guru that he was studying from. You know, that one gap was enough for him to join my group while still stay in the other group. I'm not suggesting that you leave. I'm suggesting you join this one also. You can do two, but when you join mine, like in any of my programs, when you join our sales program, you'll be working with me. You will be asking me questions. You'll be sending me your scripts. Now, yes, I've got a team and you will work with my team as well, but you will absolutely have access with me. And that's what made him join. See, your greatest sales tool isn't the features and benefits of the product or service. It's your level of certainty. When you fully believe in your solution, when you really believe in your process, when you really believe in your ability to deliver, that you're an expert, that you're an authority, they feel it. I'm telling you, confidence moves faster than information. Confidence is much more convincing than facts and figures. You want to see yourself and you want to carry yourself as a trusted advisor, as an authority, as an expert, not some pusher or convincer. Your job is to help them make the right decision for them, even if that decision is no. And see, that level of a mindset, that earns trust. And trust builds long-term relationships. So you want to celebrate, their decision to move forward. Acknowledge the courage that it takes to say yes. This affirms their choice and deepens the connection to you and your solution. See, after every single time somebody says yes to me, yes, I'm going to buy it. Yes, I'm going to move forward. I don't just thank them for the sale. I didn't say, oh, this is great. Thank you so much. You can really count on us. I said, congratulations. Congratulations. You just made the very best decision you could have ever made regarding this. And I'm going to earn your trust. I'm going to now have the opportunity to prove it to you. And after every objection, debrief with yourself and ask, what caused it? Don't just think, oh, well, everybody says it's price or everybody. No. If you're getting people giving you objections, the only consistent thing is you. So how did you respond? What could you have done earlier to prevent that objection? See, every objection that you dissect, every objection that you take apart and tweezer out makes you better at preventing the next one. Look, every objection is an opportunity for you to lead. And when you stop resisting and you start exploring, start getting curious, you're going to uncover what's really holding them back. And that's where sales transformation begins. You want to handle objections really well. You don't want to just close a deal. You're looking to open a relationship. You're a points player. If you're a commission salesperson, you're a points player. You're building a book of business. Every single conversation is part of that book of your business. You don't ever want to burn that bridge. Now look, if you haven't downloaded the brief guide that I created to help you build your belief, the Belief Upgrade Guide, do it. Do it now. See, objections don't beat you. Your beliefs about them and your beliefs about your ability to overcome them do. And this guide will help you shift the inner patterns that quietly shape every single conversation, every objection, and every moment that you hesitate. And once you've got it, once you've got the guide, I want you to make sure that you watch the next video, Secrets to Mastering Cold Calling, where I'll show you how to break resistance, build connection, and create momentum from the very first conversation. So download the guide, watch the next video. I'll see you there.